Testing the microphone before we go live. Hello, everybody. Oh, my. Give me one moment here. Got an ad playing on my own live video as I'm trying to check the sound. Okay, I can hear me, but I don't know if you can hear me. So if you can hear me, please let me know in the comments. Let me know if I'm coming through, if the microphone is working, if I need to click any buttons that have not been pushed. I am audible, okay, but is it decent? You can hear me. Loud and clear, okay, that's good to know. Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with the Coach. So I'm going to start this one out with a question from our friend Osby. He sent me this one on Facebook. I don't look at Facebook very often, but I thought, hey, I'll see if anybody has sent me any messages. And he sent me one. He refers to me as Dewey Shifu. So we'll just roll with that. Dewey Shifu, I hope to get a response from you. You're getting one. I need your help with something. I've been studying now since 2015, and I told my master last night that I had problems retaining technique that I've learned in the past, and I do practice. My master told me that if I want to retain what I learn as in one technique, I must practice that one technique 240 times for 21 days. My master said it's a scientifically proven fact. Dewey Shifu, that's almost a month, and I have so many techniques that would take me years to do all those techniques 240 times for 21 days. Plus new ones. Dewey Shifu, it has been a lot it has to be a lot easier, but a better way for me to retain what I have learned. Please help. Okay. I should get a lot of questions like this, which is why I'm bringing this up. So, how much time do you have in a day? Do you have a time to rep out a technique 241 times every single day for 21 days? Maybe. It depends on your personal schedule, right? But, yeah, is it just about repping out the technique? Like getting out reps? For example, if you want to get good at using the jab, you just throw a whole bunch of jabs 241 times, and then you do it again the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day. Well, listen, there's more to it than that. Because the jab is a combative technique, and it doesn't work in isolation, just extending the arm. There's everything else involving the jab, how to land that thing. So technique acquisition isn't just about going through the motions and putting your bones in the right position. It is about being able to use that stuff in a fight. So the way people practice technique at most of the gyms I have visited is not ideal. Here's what I mean by that. They will rep out techniques a bunch of times. They'll rep it out for 20, 30 minutes, and then they will spar. And during the sparring session or the rolling session, whatever you call your sparring, the opportunity to use that technique might come up, but you're probably going to fail. Or it might not come up at all, and you'll get 0 repetitions against live resistance. And the first so many times you attempted live, you're going to fail anyway. And so if you only have that situation come up maybe once in a sparring session to do your move of the day, you're not going to do so well. So you got to dial it back. You've got to drill, not sequence, drill. And I have to clarify that because people use the word drill wrong all the time. All the time. When I say drill, I mean what a lot of people call positional sparring. You have to get multiple experiences using your technique live if you want to, 1, remember it, and 2, be able to use it. And in order to give yourself as many experiences doing your technique live, you have to set up positional drills where that technique is going to happen. All right. We have a bunch of questions. Can you train and spar in MMA with braces? Yes. Yes, you can. Is that going to be ideal to have braces, possibly causing abrasions in your mouth? Will you perhaps need to visit a dentist to get a special mouth guard that doesn't interfere with the braces? Maybe. But can you train? Heck yes, you can. All right. I got a question here and a few others that are similar to this in the comments of some videos where there was a discussion about, oh, sweet, we got a super chat. Let's skip that thought. I'll make a video about that idea later and read this one from RRTNZ, who says, "Hail RD, hail, friend. We're doing old-timey speak. Chuck Norris versus Bruce Lee on the streets. I'm going with Chuck, who is a military cop in Korea and physically bigger. What's your take, mate?" I made a video on this, and yeah, I chose Chuck. And I got an angry comment about that today who said, "You don't know anything about Bruce Lee. You need to do your research. How dare you suggest that Chuck Norris could possibly beat Bruce Lee in a fight? You don't know anything about martial arts. You're the worst guy in the world." So if you want a more detailed response about why I think Chuck Norris would win, go check out that video. But honestly, I think Chuck Norris also believed that he would win in that fight, based on some things he said in certain interviews. Doug says this. He says, "I admire you for putting your skills to the test in the Ultimate Self-Defense Challenge, and I love you for coming to my country. I hope this didn't put you off Australia for good." Okay. Man, I've had some interesting reactions to my my reaction videos to the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship. I was thinking about this today. Like, I've got some really, really negative responses about my participation in the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship. My time in Australia, I would say overall it was really, really positive. The actual Self-Defense Championship challenges were simulated murder, basically, and that in and of itself kind of sucked. But honestly, the majority of what happened, hanging out with, say, Icy Mike and Jeff Chan and Sensei Seth and Rokas and Matt, that was cool. Those guys were really cool. And all of the really cool stuff that I really loved about the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship actually had nothing to do with the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship. And Australia was a great place. I really enjoyed Australia. I had the chance to hang out with some Australian friends of mine, some friends of mine who live in Australia, who used to live in Shanghai. And that's how I know them. And we had a great time. They showed me around Sydney, and it was great. After the Self-Defense Championship, we did a seminar, and I got to meet a bunch of the Australian fans over there, and that was amazing. That was awesome. That was like the first time in my life that I met like you guys who actually watch my channel and care about what I do, and it kind of blew my mind how what I do is important to you guys in like that personal level. It was like, I mean, it's one thing to make a video that gets, say, 1,000 views, and as far as YouTube goes, that's not that many. Like, I put my heart and soul into a recent video that nobody watched. Well, 3,000 people watched it. 3,000 people watched it, and this video took me a year to complete. It took a lot of effort, and I was just crestfallen to see that so few people, like a fraction, a tiny, tiny fraction of a percentage of my subscribers, actually almost no subscribers, watched it. Most of the views came from people looking for search terms that had nothing to do with the video. It was weird, man. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. But it's one thing to think, oh man, this sucks. I only got 3,000 views on my video. But then when I was in Australia, I saw like several hundred people, which in terms of YouTube views isn't that much, but several hundred people who love what I do, who my videos have somehow touched their lives in an important way. I've taught them something online, and I was able to meet them in person and thank them in person and shake their hands and hang out with them. And that was amazing, man. So I would love to come back to Australia. I'm actually planning on coming back to Australia at some point, Sydney specifically, because I do have close friends there. So the ultimate self-defense challenge did not put me off of Australia. It put me off of a few things that had specifically to do with some of the events, but overall, the Australia experience was great. Anyway, just want to get that out of the way. We got some comments about the upcoming match between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. Man, we live in a weird world. Someone says, the Landlord Harassment Channel says, Elon will destroy Zuck, twice Zuck's size, plus Elon holds a couple of black belts himself. I've thought about this. Elon Musk is noticeably larger than Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know what their exact sizes are, but Elon Musk is not a small guy. He's noticeably larger than Mark Zuckerberg. Man, it's funny how outside of the professional combat sports world, people look at two guys like, oh, you guys both have lots of money, therefore you should fight each other. But we're like 5 weight classes apart, so it's okay because they're rich. Let them do it. It's weird, man. It's weird. Oh, this is a good point. I'm reading a lot of points more than questions right now, but this is a great point that comes from our friend Kapilthav. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he says, hey, coach, what if a self-defense school or channel actually taught laws and how to actually get emergency help fast and stuff like that instead of anime knife defense? Well, that would be ideal. I got a great comment recently on a video where I just lambasted the self-defense industry for everything they do wrong, because there's so much wrong with the self-defense industry, the fear-mongering industry, more correctly put. And yeah, this is what that comment was all about. Like, you have to teach the laws. If you don't understand the laws, you don't understand self-defense, which is something I say all the time on this channel, man. So if there are some channels out there you might not think of as self-defense channels, but lawyers who are not specifically giving you legal advice. They have to say that legally, but they're telling you the law. They're teaching you the law. They're teaching you what happens in court. And those guys, I would say, have more legitimate self-defense courses online than most martial artists who claim to be self-defense instructors. Wait, somebody has the actual height of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. Elon is 6'1", so he's about my height, and he appears to be more girthy, so I'm guessing he probably weighs somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 pounds. And Mark is 5'8", so a significantly smaller guy. More on the skinny end. People want to know my predictions for Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier 2 fight. I have no idea, man. Those Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier, you know what those two guys remind me of? Do you know how some people can't tell the difference between what's his face, that dude who played Frodo in The Lord of the Rings, and that dude who played Harry Potter in the Harry Potter movies? I can totally tell them apart, but a lot of people are like, they're basically the same person. They have the same face. They're the same. I kind of feel that way about Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. I mean, their first names rhyme. Obviously, they look different. They have different faces and all that. But it's like, as far as being fighters, it's like they almost seem like they're the same guy technically. So I don't even know how to give you a prediction on that one, man. Just in case sends in a super chat with nothing attached to it. Appreciate that, my friend. Max wants to know what gets you in shape quicker, Muay Thai or BJJ? Muay Thai gets you in shape for Muay Thai. BJJ gets you in shape for BJJ. What does that mean? That means that you in shape for what? That specificity that we're talking about. Specificity. Killer Bead said, you missed my super chat. Well, let me scroll up and see what happened there. Let me see where your super chat is. Because I was talking at length about a few things. Where is it? Where are you, Killer Bead? Oh, Killer Bead, there you are. You did send in a super chat. Thank you very much. It says, are sprints part of the cardio myth? What are some of your best practices for maximizing one of your fighters' cardio? Sprints are great. I made a video called The Cardio Myth where I addressed the idea of how long, slow distance exercise such as jogging or cycling or swimming or this sort of thing is, or skipping rope for extended periods of time will have this intense 100% athletic crossover to fighting, and you need to do that stuff. And the crux of that video is it won't make you worse if you run a lot or swim a lot or do these sort of things, but it doesn't develop the athletic specificity for the sport that most people seem to think that it does. As far as fighting goes, sprinting has much more athletic crossover than long distance running or jogging because it engages muscular and energetic systems in the body which are much more similar and comparable to the movements you will do in a fight. Again, jogging, unless you've got issues with your joints, and jogging may lead to issues in your joints because it's the least ergonomically correct way of running, if you will. It might emulate kind of, what's that word I'm looking for? Bouncing on your toes a little bit in a boxing match, but it's not the same. It's not the same athletic specificity. So Killer Bead 01, are sprints part of the cardio myth? The cardio myth is that an athletic activity that has very little to do with your sport is going to have great athletic crossover to your sport, and that's simply not true. So as far as fighting goes, sprints are great. What are some of your best practices for maximizing one of your fighters' cardio? Teach them to breathe. Teach them to breathe. Cardio is a used and abused term among fighters and athletes in general. If you feel like you have bad cardio, it's largely because you're probably holding your breath when you fight. So teach people to breathe athletically while fighting, meaning exhale. Focus on the exhale, not the inhale. Inhaling while you are moving, fighting, happens automatically. Regardless of what you are thinking about doing, it happens automatically. Breathing out, exhaling is something you can control, and that will, by association, control how you breathe in. Nolan Smith says this: how do you teach your students to deal with fear? Suppressing fear seems to sabotage. The best bet I have found is do it scared, not resisting it. That's actually pretty good advice, Nolan. You're scared for a reason. If you are about to get in a cage fight, for example, and you are not experiencing some type of anxiety, well, you don't know you're about to get in a cage fight. So, yeah, you're scared. So what? Do it anyway. Use that fear. Don't suppress it. We have a super chat from Aaron Kelly who says, I have a question, but I need more than 225 characters for context. I'll send an email. I will check for your email. So if you have sent the email while we're having this conversation, send me a couple messages so I see it in the chat, and we'll see if we can do that live. And we have another super chat from Conan the Barbarian. No, from RRTNZ once again, who says Conan the Barbarian versus Hoist Gracie. Who wins? Whoever the writers want to win, because one of those is a fictional character, and the other one is. I was about to call Hoist Gracie a fictional character. No, he's a real dude. But real dudes have been put into comic books. For example, when Superman had a boxing match with Muhammad Ali back in the old DC comics and the old Action comics. That really happened in the comic books. So who wins between Muhammad Ali and Superman? Well, whoever the writers decide is going to win. People seem to think Conan would win because he has a sword. Well, if Conan gets a sword, he's probably going to win. What if Hoist Gracie had a sword? What if Hoist had a sword and Conan didn't? Think that through, guys. We have a super chat from NB Taekwondo Academy, TKD Academy, who says, Damian Villa WT Kuki Taekwondo fighter is fighting in karate combat again on Saturday. He uses classic Olympic kicks and it's free on YouTube. Okay, cool. Thanks for the heads up. So, yeah. Check out Karate Combat if you're interested in seeing some cool kicks and stuff from a Taekwondo expert. And we have another super chat from Killer Bede who says, Master Wong versus Dale Brown UFC rule set. Who wins? Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. I answered a similar question to this in the last live Q&A, but there's one stipulation that Killer Bede 01 brought up, which is its UFC 1 rules. Okay. That means they're not just fighting each other. They're fighting in an 8-man tournament. So we have to decide who in the UFC 1 card Master Wong and Dale Brown are replacing. Are they fighting each other in the initial bout, or are they meeting each other later on, assuming they're able to get through guys like Art Jimerson or Hoist Gracie or any of these guys, or are they replacing them? So let's say Dale Brown and Master Wong replace Art Jimerson and Hoist Gracie on the UFC 1 card. Okay? And that's the initial match that they have. Let's one-up this question. And who wins that one? I think it's going to be sloppy. They're going to get injured quite a bit. Dale Brown might dive onto his belly and try to drive his knuckles into the shin to bring Master Wong to the floor with pain compliance. Master Wong would expect to punch and start blocking his face with the elbows and then look down and say, Dale, why are you giving me a traditional Chinese massage to the leg right there? It doesn't make sense. Dale would say, Master Wong, you are not following the instructions. This is an intelligent option to increase your survivability. And this would go on for some time. And then eventually the referee would consider stopping the match, even though he was advised specifically by Hori and Gracie not to stop the match, just because it would get super weird and probably be terrible for the pay-per-view. Then the winner of that match, it's hard to predict because Dale, I think, is bigger and heftier and he's got the weight advantage. Master Wong, I have no idea if that dude can fight at all, to be honest. But he's feisty. He's feisty. So let's assume the feistiness is worth anything in a fight. Let's flip a coin. Let's flip the coin. Okay. I guess we're going with Master Wong in that one somehow for some reason. So the next match, Master Wong goes on to fight, what was his name? The karate savate guy who kicked the teeth out of Tola Tule, the sumo? Yeah, Master Wong would end up without teeth right there. Anyway, let's read some of these other questions. Okay, here's a question from Mike G, who says, "Hey, coach, judo competitor and kickboxer here. I like to call out local fake masters and challenge them. One of my school teachers started giving bad self-defense seminars. Should I beat him up?" All right, that's a good question. Should we beat up people who are giving out bad information about martial arts? I understand the compulsion, the desire to want to do that, but should we? Should we beat up these guys? That, my gut reaction is no, don't assault people. There are the better ways, more mature ways, more legal ways to deal with that. But should you? Should you? Because there's certain things we should do that might not necessarily be justified by laws or certain people's ethics. Should we do it? You know, I'm going to throw that out to you guys for a moment before I continue discussing this further. What do you guys think? Should Mike beat up this guy giving bad self-defense seminars? What should we do about that? Brave Little Spidey says, beat up, expose them, sure, but beat them up sounds like I'm the better martial artist. Well, he might be the better martial artist. He very well could be. And if he's not, he'll have a rude awakening when he goes and tries to beat this guy up and realizes, hey, it's not that easy. This guy gave out bad information, but he can actually throw down a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. Should you confront this guy and have a discussion with him? Yeah, go do that. Go talk it out, man. Go talk it out before you fight it out. That would be my advice for you. Here's a great question. Centipede Slaughter says, Ramsey, is it wrong for a jiu-jitsu beginner to learn leg locks? No, it's not wrong. It's right. As a primary submission, there's a stipulation. As a primary submission for competition. I am going for that in my first ever BJJ comp, as I get a lot of success with it at the gym. Well, which leg lock are we talking about? Because in jiu-jitsu competition, there are certain leg locks that are allowed at certain belt levels. You say you are a beginner, meaning you're a white belt in jiu-jitsu. At the white belt level, as far as IBJJF rules, there are 2 leg locks that are legal. One is the straight ankle lock. Any variation of the straight ankle lock, as long as you're not knee reaping. So should you learn that? Yes, you should. Is that your primary? If that's your primary submission, if that's the one you're good at, if you're catching up everybody with the straight ankle lock, great. Just make sure you study up on that knee reaping rule. The other one is stretching the legs apart, a hip lock. So, for example, a banana split or an electric chair submission, that sort of thing. That is the one submission that is always legal in IBJJF rules, even in children's divisions. So should you learn those 2? I would put more stock in the straight ankle lock, although I'm actually really good at getting into position for banana splits and electric chairs, and I do use them. I do get a lot of taps from those. Is that your primary submission for competition? It's absolutely not wrong to learn leg locks as a beginner. In fact, I would say learn the whole kit and caboodle, man. Some people will poo-poo and say, no, don't learn heel hooks as a white belt because that's illegal for white belts to do in competition. I would say, hey, you're going to run into somebody who's going to do a heel hook on you in training at some point, and you need to know what it is. You don't need to specialize in it, but you do need to know what it is as a white belt. So you know when to tap, why to tap, what it is that they're doing. Yeah. So no, leg locks are not wrong. They are not evil. They are not bad. Yeah, TP Grant, who says he is a jiu-jitsu black belt, says leg locks are vital to a complete game. This is true. They are very dependent on rule sets in competition as opposed to arm bars. Yeah. Yeah, man. Many different types of leg locks. Take, for example, in sambo, any spiraling, twisting, torsion-style leg lock, such as a heel hook, is not allowed. Straight ankle lock, a knee bar, totally fine. Compression locks, totally fine, but toe holds and heel hooks, no. Under sambo rules, no. I was doing some sambo sparring today, so that's on my mind today. Angry Engineering says, how do you know when to stop learning another new technique in BJJ? Is that technique some flippy-dippy Instagram crap? If so, maybe stop learning that and start learning some real jiu-jitsu. Radical Trivia says, happy weekend, my friend. Go check out his channel. It's some great stuff over there, jiu-jitsu information and podcasts and stuff like that. We did a podcast together. Go watch it with Radical Trivia. He's here in the chat. Welcome, my friend. Oh, this concerns me. Spider Aravalo says, Coach Ramsey, I commented earlier, but you didn't see it. I'm 140 pounds, going to be sparring a boxing heavyweight. Any tips, sir? Oh, boy. Why are you going to spar a heavyweight in boxing? That's a massive size difference, dude. I hope you're going light and friendly, because if not, if you're like fight level sparring, if you're putting some pepper on it, unless you're really good at slipping punches, you're going to get hurt. You're going to take some damage. So don't get hit. That's my advice. If you're sparring a heavyweight, if you're sparring somebody way out of your weight class, make sure you're going light. Assuming this guy knows how to box and you know how to box too. There was a story about George St. Pierre. He was training with, I forget who, he was trying out some other coaches on for size besides Faraz Zahabi and his regular crew. And they were going to have him spar, I forget who, but one of the UFC heavyweights. And they said, yeah, this will be great, because if you can beat the big guy, you can definitely beat welterweights. And George basically said, nope. How the heck does that help my game? That's not useful. No, thank you. And walked out of there. There's an important lesson there. Todd says, how old is too old to spar? I don't know. I haven't been that old yet. I'll be 45 in a few months, and I haven't reached too old to spar yet. So I don't know, man. How much training is too much training? Your body will tell you. Your body will tell you. But at the same time, do you ever hear those people who belong to the Church of Jeet Kune Do talking about Bruce Lee, saying Bruce Lee trained for 36 hours a day. He never stopped. He never slept. He trained 6,000 days a year. All he did was train. Like, no. He probably trained too much, to be honest. Probably did too much. And that probably contributed to the fact that he died an early death. But, look, cramming for a fight doesn't work in the same way that cramming for a test doesn't work. Yeah, there are not 36 hours in a day. But people often assume that just logging more hours of training is going to make them better. No, man. You're going to experience a point of diminishing returns when you log a huge number of hours of training in a single day. Consistency is more important. One of the greatest martial artists I ever met, I've talked about him a number of times on this channel, a man named Yu Daoshui. He's from Jiangsu province, China. The guy is a master of Taiji. And I'm not talking about just the forms and all this. This dude can fight. I sparred with him. He was 80 years old. I sparred with him. He kicked my butt. I've told this story. It's a great story and it's true. Well, and everything he taught, it wasn't some hocus pocus, oh, meditate for 1,000,000 years and then you'll develop your internal power. No, it was real stuff that you could learn right there by sparring with the dude. And I was shocked at first to learn that he only trained for 1 hour each day. The guy had a full-time job. He was a chauffeur. He's a driver, drove people around town all day. He would train every morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day. And he did that his entire life. And the guy was amazing. Yeah. And that helped me change my mind quite a bit about training. That it's not just logging massive amounts of time a couple days a week. It's about being consistent. That consistency is what pays off, man. I would rather see you dedicate 1 dedicated hour every day to getting out there and training than thinking that spamming a bunch of training into one day, doing as much as you possibly can and wearing yourself thin is going to solve the problem. C. Punk Messiah says, do you think that functional strength training should be emphasized for any martial art you learn? Yes. Yes. I would amend that for any sport, any athletic endeavor, you should do functional strength training. Now, I'm also curious what you mean by functional strength training, because when people throw out the word functional, it often turns into circus tricks instead of, things that actually make you stronger. So, what is functional strength training? Lifting heavy things up off the floor, that's pretty functional. Squats and deadlifts and pull-ups, man, that's pretty functional. If you're not doing something on a regular basis consistently to get stronger, that's a problem if you are planning on performing athletically in anything. All right, we got a super chat from Phaser Shorts. That's a great screen name. Hi, Ramsey, completely random. But are you familiar with the Christian prophet Julie Green? I am not. I highly suggest listening if you aren't. Big things coming. The Christian prophet Julie Green. All right, let me write that down and see what Julie Green is all about. So, Julie Green Ministries. I'm Googling this right now, live as we go. She's got a website. Now, when people say the word prophet, some people freak out, like, what? Prophet? Wow, that's okay. And then some people, like I notice some evangelical Christians use the term a lot more casually, like anybody who preaches the gospel can be considered a prophet. So I'm not sure where Julie Green lies on this spectrum of Christian prophets, if you will. Anyway, yeah, we'll check that out later, see what that's all about. All right, what other questions do we have? Max says, do you think practicing a new skill that is just out of reach before you drill the fundamentals or spar is a good idea? Practicing a new skill that's just out of reach before you drill the fundamentals or spar is a good idea. Huh. What do you mean by fundamental? Let's talk about fundamentals for a minute. Because people always say the fundamentals. And I'm genuinely curious what each of you believes the fundamentals to be in your particular martial art or combat sport. What are the fundamentals? I taught a jiu-jitsu class today, and about 30 minutes into class, some new students, a guy and his girlfriend, they show up and they want to try out the class. I guess they didn't know what time it started, and I'd already been working with some students that I've been training for years, and we're working on some advanced jiu-jitsu. And they take a look at what we're doing and they're like, "Hey, can you teach us something really basic?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I throw some basic knowledge their way, and they had a good time. Now, so what are the basics of jiu-jitsu? Position, 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 position. Did I say position? Yes, I did, man. So you teach them position. I taught them a takedown. I taught them some transitions from one position to the other, how to control somebody in mount. I did a little light sparring with them, little light rolling. And of course, the dude goes full power, like they always do, and I just mounted him, and he's thrashing around trying to get out, and he can't because I know how to control the mount. And afterwards, his girlfriend says, "How did you do that?" He's like really strong, and he was really strong, and he's like, "Yeah, how did you do that? I don't get it." And so I teach them just a couple of simple cues to maintain mount. They're like, "Whoa, this totally works. This is amazing. I'm learning jiu-jitsu. This is awesome." Oh, sweet. We got another super chat from Phaser Shorts clarifying, to answer your question, Julie Green, is a legit prophet, okay? And she even has prophecy-fulfilled videos and takes no credit, gives it all to God. So, okay. So she's prophesying, okay. Okay. Cool. Again, we'll take a look at that later and see what that's all about. Well, cool. Thanks for the chat. What other questions do we have? The official liberal Chunga says, "Hey coach, I'm having a bare knuckle match against a D1 wrestler. I'm a judo practitioner and a kyokushin karate black belt and a Dutch kickboxer. Am I outclassed here? I am in need of help. SOS. SOS. Save our souls." You're having a bare knuckle match, like boxing or just anything goes, Wale Tudo MMA? Is it a karate match? I mean, if it's a purely striking match against a wrestler where he's not going to wrestle you, you're probably going to be fine. If it's an MMA fight, you might not be fine. And you're worried, meaning you know something about this guy that I don't, and you feel like you're not going to be fine. Why are you doing a bare knuckle match with this guy? I'm very curious. Is this like a pride thing? Like, did you get in an argument on the internet? Like, we're going to fight bare knuckle. What's the story here? I want to know. I want to know the story. Why do you have a bare knuckle match with these nondescript rules against this Division I wrestler? I was curious about how old you are. And D1 wrestler means college age. So you're at least a young man, young adult, I'm guessing, unless this is a grown man beating up a kid. I don't know, man. I want to know the story. Renko asks a great question. I made a video about this. He says, "Hey, Ramsey, when throwing a turning back kick, how do you actually see where you are striking?" You see with your feet. You don't actually have to look to see where you're striking. You line up your standing foot with your target before you kick. Before you even turn your head. You can look in the polar opposite direction. I know that's not what the World Taekwondo Federation teaches. The World Taekwondo Federation teaches you to peek over your shoulder and watch through your peripherals, kind of like that. But don't look all the way or it's going to turn into a sloppy spin. But I made a video all about this. How to aim a turning back kick. How to actually land a turning back kick. It's a good video, if I do say so myself. but you're going to aim with your standing foot. Point your heel, point the back of your foot directly at the thing you want to hit, and your kicking leg will go in that direction. If your foot of your standing leg is aligned with anything else that is not your target, you will not hit your target. So watch that video. Watch it. It's good. You'll start hitting things with the turning back kick after that. Gray says, is the video that took you a year to make the They Live fight scene? Yes, yes it is. There were a lot of setbacks involving dystopian nightmare things going on in the world that stopped that from happening. Dimensional Shade says, Ramsey, do you plan on growing out your beard ever again? Look, it takes me like 3 days to grow a full beard. And so every time I make a YouTube video, every other time I make a YouTube video, people are like, you have a beard, you don't have a beard. You have a beard now, you don't have a beard. Because like, it grows out for a few days, shear it off, grows out for a few days, shear it off. It grows fast, man. We have a super chat from RRTNZ who says, Bruce Lee versus Masoyama in 1968 on a mountainside during a thunderstorm with dramatic music playing and a monk choir chanting. Who wins? Those are very important details you added there. Since there's a thunderstorm, I think that works in the favor of Masoyama. With the dramatic music playing, however, that works in the favor of Bruce Lee. The monk choir chanting, though. Now, what kind of monks are we talking about? Are these like Tibetan monks going like that? Or are we talking like Christian monks singing choral music in a cathedral? Like, the type of monks matters greatly, determining the winner of this particular fight. I'm going to assume Tibetan monks, which means that Masoyama would probably have a slight advantage here. So I'm giving it to the founder of Kyokushin Kaikan. Max wants to know if I have used any flashy capoeira kicks in an actual fight. Yes. Yes, I've used actual capoeira kicks in actual professional MMA fights. I have. They're great kicks. The two I use the most, the meia lua de compasson and the martelo do chão, the rising round kick from the floor. Those are the two I use the most. Sweet, we got a super chat from Radical Trivia who says, thanks for the shout out. Well deserved, my friend. Go check out Radical Trivia's channel. He's doing some great interviews and podcasts. Let me know if you want me to send you a jersey. Sure, man. I sent one to Rob from McDojo Life and Chatty yesterday, and let's play Turtles soon. Yeah, thanks for the reminder, man. We should do that before I skedaddle over to the U.S. for the next month and a half, because the beginning of July to mid-August I'll be in the U.S. So, yeah. Newsflash, in case you didn't know, I will be visiting the United States. I'll be in the Boise, Idaho area. I will be in Southern California. I may be making a stop in Seattle, Washington as well. So Los Angeles, I might be in San Diego for a brief time. If anybody is interested in hosting a seminar in any of those locales, again, Southern California, Los Angeles area, Boise, Idaho area, Seattle, Washington area, please let me know. Send me an email at ramseydewey@gmail.com. And yeah, I'd love to come pay your gym a visit and teach some stuff. That would be awesome. Any plans to do stuff in the U.S. that you can't do in China? Join a protest, shoot an assault rifle, pay $700,000 for a hospital stay. Not planning on joining a protest. Maybe I'll do some shooting. I'm going to Idaho. That's like it's like the law to shoot guns over there in Idaho where I grew up. I hope I don't end up with another $700,000 hospital stay. That would suck. That would suck, man. Things that I will do in the U.S. that I can't do in China. Buffalo meat, man. Buffalo meat. There's a bison farm in my hometown. And yeah, man, best meat in the world. Sorry, vegans. It's amazing. Those beautiful animals are delicious. They are delicious. Hate me if you must. But we're going to eat bison. Adam Sandler wants to know, have you ever studied trigonometry at a college level? No. I studied trigonometry at a high school level, and I didn't do very well in math classes in high school. And then I went to college, and I studied modern dance and Spanish, and in order to graduate, I needed one college-level math class. And so I signed up for the lowest level math class I could possibly take, which was like university level algebra. And the teacher on the first day said, "You probably signed up for this class because you thought it would be easy, but I'm going to make it as hard as possible, and you're going to have to buy this $300 textbook, and it's going to suck, and it's going to be awful." And so I'm looking through the course catalog thinking there has to be an alternative to this, and then I find one. I can walk over to the testing center. I can pay $15 and take a math exemption test. If I pass it with 80% or higher, I don't have to take a college math class. And I'm like, wow, this is so much better than spending $300 on a textbook and suffering through this horrible class where I'm going to have to do all this busy work, and the teacher is deliberately going to make it difficult because she doesn't like the fact that people are taking her class because it's easy. So I went over to the testing center, paid $15, took the test, and passed it with 94%. I have no idea how. When I graduated college, the first thing I did, I applied for a job as a special agent with the FBI. And they have a really, at least they had when I did, a really complex math and cognitive reasoning test